Hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to make Thousand Island dressing. And the recipe that I'm using is not one that you can find on the internet, although there are many on the internet, that's for sure. This one is approximately 102 years old. So let me explain to you a little bit about what I have found on the history of Thousand Island dressing. The name is based on a recipe that was created by what appears to be a housewife in the Thousand Island region of the St. Lawrence River between the border of Canada and the United States. And legend has it that a housewife created this salad dressing to go out and be put on the luncheon menu that her husband used for the beach luncheons that he took tourists on when he took them out on a fishing expedition. And that it was very popular with the tourists, and they brought that back to the United States. And on one of these expeditions, the proprietor or the manager of the Waldorf Astoria Hotel liked the dressing a great deal, and so he brought it back to the Waldorf Astoria in New York City and had the kitchen put it on the menu at the Waldorf Astoria. And that's when it became, I think, popularized, I suspect, in the United States. And that was all around the turn of the century, actually around 1898 or so. This recipe dates back to 1918 and is based on the recipe for Thousand Island dressing that is in the World War I cookbook. Unlike many of the modern recipes for Thousand Island dressing on the internet, in a lot of the magazines and touted by a lot of the popular cooks and chefs, this one is really very simple, and I suggest to you extremely tasty. These are the ingredients that are required. Mayonnaise, I am using olive oil mayonnaise, although you can make your own. Mayonnaise is simply traditional French sauce made with egg yolks and oil, and is very delicious when you make it yourself. Worcestershire sauce. I use a sweet gherkin, although you've finely chopped, although you could use a sweet relish. Ketchup, or you can use a chili sauce. And I also use a little bit of ground paprika, and I use a finely chopped onion, or at least a tablespoon of finely chopped onion. So you finely chop the onion, and of course you only want to chop a little bit of it since you're only going to use a tablespoonful. So we'll just chop the very end of this onion, and we'll try to get it as fine as possible. You could put it in a food processor or a mini prep if you wanted to. I don't see the reason for dirtying that. And you kind of want the onion to be a little bit chunky. Kind of helps with the Thousand Island flavor. Probably more than a tablespoonful. Now I usually use the sweet gherkin. I use one of the larger ones in the jar. Here again, you can use sweet relish. I only use relish on a hot dog, or maybe in a recipe like this, and I just as soon not have a jar taking up all that space in the pantry. So, and because I'm a single person, and you know, it's not like if I'm having a big, barbecue or people over and hot dogs are going to be on the menu, then I might break down and buy a bottle of relish. But then you have to buy both the sweet and the dill relish, and you're stuck with it for months. But anyway, for my purposes, most of the time, I always have sweet gherkins in the pantry, and which I find you don't have to refrigerate, contrary to what some people feel. Unless you have a bigger refrigerator than you have a pantry, and I've been in that situation several times too. So there we have the onion and the gherkin chopped, and we will just go ahead and get our 1/4 cup of mayo. This particular recipe, the quantities here make 4 servings. So, oh hell, I should have put this into the measuring cup first. I'm so used to doing this by sight. Have to get more mayo, so that is 1/4 cup of mayo. And of course, these measurements don't have to be precise, more or less to taste. The tablespoon of chopped onions, the tablespoon of sweet gherkins, and then the tablespoon of ketchup. And you could actually, it's 1 to 2 tablespoons according to taste. I'm running low on ketchup, that's why the bottle was upside down. This is where this recipe really differs. It uses Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce is a sauce that's based on an ancient Roman recipe. It's based on a fish sauce. It's an anchovy-based sauce. I know people use Worcestershire sauce who hate anchovies, but that's really where it gets a lot of its kick. And if you read the ingredients in Worcestershire, anchovies is a major component. And that's basically a lot of its flavor. So this, you're gonna see, darkens the Thousand Island dressing. So it looks kind of gross right now, but when you mix it all up, it gets its distinctive orangey tone. Well, it kind of looks like the color of my apron. Now you're going to find it's not quite as sweet as many of the bottled or the jarred pre-made Thousand Island recipes. I kind of like it because of that, because I find it much more flavorful. Let's give this a little taste. I can tell you, I think that's very good. If you want it a little sweeter, you can always add a little more ketchup to it rather than adding sugar. I don't believe in adding sugar to salad dressings. There's nothing wrong with adding some ground paprika to it. Paprika is simply cherry peppers, the skin of cherry peppers, dried and ground. So you can add that. And there you have a delicious homemade Thousand Island dressing. You can add a little more sweet gherkin to it if you want to, or sweet relish to it if you want to. Be very careful because you don't want to overdo it. But if you want more of those pickle chunks in there, you can have it. Let me show you what it looks like. That's basically what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to put it on a salad and begin my lunch. I mentioned I would start showing off my china. I showed this off once before. This is the Fitz and Floyd, what is it? Fleur Fantasia pattern. It's very pretty, very summery, very luncheony. It has a verge, and you plate basically the food in the middle. I've made a salad with iceberg lettuce, red leaf lettuce, shredded red cabbage, cherry tomatoes, shredded carrots, and celery. Mixed it all together, and I think that will do. And I think I'll put a little cherry pepper on the side. Just put a little bit of Thousand Island dressing on top. As I said, I'd like to stretch this out to 4 servings. And there you have the finished product, all ready to be served and tasted. Well, it's almost 1 o'clock and I am hungry. So, mix it up a little to distribute the salad dressing. And I think it's a winner. There's nothing better than homemade salad dressings. They'll beat out the jarred and the bottled dressings every day of the week. You make it when you feel like it, and your guests will certainly appreciate something freshly made. So until next time, take care. Wish I could have you over for lunch.